But Arsenal's this club that's closest to your heart. You're obviously an Arsenal man through and through and through. Mr. Wenger, what's the position? And also, could he lead a side for the first time ever in Arsenal outside the top 5?
Quite possibly, and I think he's been getting away with it over the last few years, and he's been rescued a couple of times on the last day of the season. You had dodgy lasagna, you had the West Brom goalie as well, kind of chucking a few in. That kind of did Spurs, I think it was last season. I think this could be the first season. I'm a big Wenger critic, as you might tell. However, I always back him to finish in the top 4 with Arsenal. He seems to know how to do it, and I certainly wouldn't write him off at this stage doing it. Having said that, in terms of what's best for the long-term future of Arsenal Football Club, there's many fans like me in a way who are kind of almost, I say this with quite a guilty feeling, but kind of secretly hoping we kind of miss out on that 4th place, because that is really going to be the only thing that triggers change at the club, which I think it desperately needs.
Money will trigger the change, and that's the only thing they hear. And let's compare this side to obviously to the invincible side of, what was it, 04 there. Let's have a look at the teams. We've got a caption of both the sort of sides here. The difference in the players and personnel is just incredible, isn't it? Look at them. I mean, the defence is the defence for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's depressing. It's depressing reading, actually. And I think what we saw here was the evidence of what has been Arsene Wenger's kind of project after the invincible side. Was he, consciously went on a rebuilding project. He went a certain way, a certain strategy, which he was perfectly entitled to do, and he built up enough credibility to do that. But I think it's, as you can see from the two teams, it's failed miserably. And I think there isn't a player in Sunday's team at Man City, Jack Wilshere aside, who definitely has the talent to belong in that Arsenal invincible squad. Otherwise, they are very much pretenders. To be fair, what was a fantastic once-in-a-lifetime team, I don't think it's fair to compare every Arsenal player to the likes of Pires and Bergkamp and Henry. I think that's a very difficult comparison to make, but they're nowhere near. They're leagues apart.
Just quickly, we've got a very, very, very big goal at the Hawthorns, and it's gone to Queen's Park Rangers. They're 1-0 up. The 80-1 could be on.
I told you.
The 80-1.
What about the 7-2 though?
7-2
as a
tonight.
single bet. I mean, it's frightening.
Well, there's a long way to go yet in that game.
Yeah, I know. We know it's an 8
goals.
o'clock kickoff as well. But again, that would be near enough the 3rd game in a row. Third game in 4 that they've kept a clean sheet.
Well, that you build it up from the back, and obviously we'll come back to Arsenal. We'll come back to us. What at that team on Sunday? Obviously, we made the mention of Wilshere. Is there any other player that you think could possibly get in that side, but getting the invincible side over?
Well, not get in the side, but I think that if you're going to say that Wilshire's potentially going to be okay in that squad, then you've got to say the same about Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'm not too sure about Gibbs. I don't think he defends well enough. Vermaelen, possibly. Koscielny, definitely not. Szczesny maybe over Lehmann. Again, Szczesny's only like 22, so again, I think he's a real keeper. But we're talking about the Invincibles here. We're talking about a side who goes whole season home and away and don't get beat. And you just go around that side. Gilberto Silva, World Cup winner. Vieira and Pires, World Cup winners. Bergkamp, Henry, World Cup winner. I mean, it's a proper squad.
Yeah, but I mean, that Arsenal team of now, I mean, if you go back 5 years ago, there's a lot of players there that wouldn't get in the Arsenal team even 5 years ago.
Exactly,
I mean, it's a very
yeah.
proper
But we are looking at, we are cherry picking here.
We are comparing the best ever Arsenal
team.
Yeah,
but so I think what's interesting is to look a little bit deeper. And I think if you look at the Invincible side, the 2 players who I'd say weren't standout names on the team sheet were Loren and Kolo Touré when they joined. Kolo Touré started at Arsenal as like a left winger. Loren was a right midfielder, came from Mallorca. Was quite an obscure talent, and that was Wenger at his absolute prime. He turned those 2 players into absolute solid world-class players and in completely new positions. You reverse it now, you look at Sunday, I think this is where Wenger's lost his touch. You've actually got good players who I think are regressing under him. Someone like Thomas Vermaelen, who I think could belong in that invincible side. He is that good, and in the last couple of years he's actually gone backwards. And that's a big thing about what made Arsene Wenger so great, this ability to spot
I wouldn't mind having a little bit contentious and saying that Santi Cazorla is better than Freddie Ljungberg. But in the roles that they did in the side, they're not in no comparison.
I'm not so sure about it. I think Cazorla's a player that likes to play weaker side. He goes missing for me too, because and we've got another Arsenal fan on the line who's come in and rang in, wants to join the debate. Gavi, just before we go, Gavi, just a couple of news. Boothroyd got the goal for Queen's Park Rangers, and Sunderland are out of the FA Cup. Bolton have won 2-0, and they host Everton in the 4th round. Gavin, pleased to join us tonight. Thank you very much for coming on. What's your view on this Arsenal side? Is anybody here, and this team currently, can get into this invincible side of 04, or even an Arsenal side of 5 years ago?
I don't think that there's many players in the current. Oh, good evening, by the way.
Good
I don't
evening.
think there's many players in the current squad that have been into any Arsenal team in the last 22 years.
Are you? We're with Ari here. He's not the biggest fan of Mr. Wenger, and he says that maybe not finishing 4th place could be a good thing, and maybe the change the club needs. Do you go with that?
We need the club needs to change. Whether it's the manager, whether it's the owner, whether it's both. As it stands at the moment, we're not doing it. They're charging absolute fortunes for us to go in and see them, and each season since we've moved to the bowl, the squad's got worse.
And Gavin,
you would have thought with the money that we're paying for tickets, the squad should be getting better, not worse. And the problem with Wenger since that Invincible side is each year he's sold one of our best players. We've had 9 years of selling our best players year on, year out, and they're replacing them with players that aren't good enough. I mean, you only have to do the current lineup against the 2004 lineup. I'd even say the 91 lineup or the 89 lineup. They don't compete, not for heart, passion, skill, pride. Most, a fair amount of our squad at the moment, they don't deserve to wear that shirt.
Just another big goal in the FA Cup. Just quickly, Broomfield Road. Blackpool have gone 1-0 up against Fulham. Goal there. Give you the goal score in a second, but you're probably best to answer that. Is Delfonso scored the goal?
well, I was going to ask Gavin actually. I mean, there's a lot of talk around what goes on at the club in the boardroom, which us as fans, no one really knows. Does Wenger have money to spend? Does he not? And I think that can obscure the argument a lot. From your point of view, as a football manager, is Arsene Wenger doing a good job today and in the last couple of years when it comes to selection, tactics, signing players and selling players, motivating players? As a purely a football manager, is he doing the job he's paid a huge sum of money to do? Is he doing it well enough?
Any manager that sells Van Persie is not doing a good job. Any manager that sells Van Persie and replaces him with pushing Walcott through the middle and playing Gervinho and playing Giroud, they're nowhere near the class of Van Persie.
But Gav, the thing is, he's just a manager of the football club. He's not the owner. He's not the chairman. And if the chairman say to him, "You have got to sell Van Persie," then his hands are tied, surely.
Wenger runs that club from top to bottom. Wenger sits on the ball. Wenger knows more about the finances of that club than Hillwood does. If there isn't money to be had, then why are they showing a bank balance of like 130 million? The money's there, they just don't want to spend it. And the problem is Wenger's making his legacy. Every year that Wenger stays on, every year we continually get worse by selling our best players. Wenger is making himself look more and more stupid.
All right.
He's
so
losing his legacy.
Okay, so what's your formula going forward? Are you seeing that Wenger's going to go upstairs and overlook the next manager, or do you want him gone and another manager come in? Because if you do, I don't see as a defo manager out there that can handle Arsenal.
Why don't you think anybody can handle Arsenal? I mean, when Arsene Wenger come to Arsenal, nobody had heard of him. He'd run, okay, you've done okay in.
Who did he replace? Who did he replace, Gav? Bruce Rioch.
He replaced Bruce Rioch. I mean,
I'll rest my case. I rest my case.
Anybody could have replaced Bruce Rioch.
Exactly, and not anybody could replace Arsene Wenger. But not anyone can replace Arsene Wenger.
I think the problem.
Like I said, if we was having this chat 9 years ago, if we was having this chat 7 years ago, I would have agreed with you. But right now, what's he done? We haven't won anything for 7 years. The quality of football is getting worse and worse. He's playing players like Ramsey, left midfield. He's playing players like Diaby. And like I say, just purely, I know we went down to 10, like when we went down to 10 men against Man City, he's left Diaby on the pitch. Why are you leaving Diaby on the pitch? Because he knew he'd have to make another substitution at 65 to 70 minutes to take him off. He should have took him off straight away. Do you know what I mean? Chamberlain can play down the middle. Ox-Chamberlain can play down the middle. He should have played him then. Wenger's tactics and the fact that, it's odds on that at 69 or 70th minute, whoever's playing at left midfield is going to get substituted.
Yeah, I think
he's got no plan B. He needs to go. I mean, I'd love him to change his ways and, maybe sit on the ball, because the problem with our manager at the moment is there's nobody above him that's got any football knowledge that can actually guide him. But when Wenger first came, he had David Dean who guided him. Wenger said, I like this player, I like that player. David Dean went out and done the business. Now, there's nobody above Wenger who can guide him, who can help him buy the players. And that's where we're going wrong. Now, if Wenger was to be removed from manager and was to move upstairs, maybe he'd be able to guide a younger manager to push us in the right direction.
And have you got a name?
Pep Guardiola.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I think there are. I think there are other names, and I think the really interesting thing is, and what a lot of supporters of Arsene Wenger say to you when you're criticising him is, who you're going to get in instead, and if he leaves, it's going to just be turmoil for the club. And I'd throw that back at them and I say, what has Arsene Wenger been allowed to do to this great football club that if he were to walk away, it would be in such a mess? I think that's the biggest indictment of what he's been doing in the last few years, that he hasn't set it up and he hasn't set the squad up, that if he were to leave, and it's not just of a football club, it's of any business, the CEO, whoever's running the thing, it needs to be run in a certain way that it's left in safe hands should he leave. And when people try and support him by saying, if he was to walk away, we'd be completely hopeless, that's the biggest criticism they can give of the man. He's obviously doing something terribly wrong, that the club is so reliant on him to run this squad of players. And sadly, I think it's true. He's got a group of players who aren't good enough, who he's the only one in his right mind who will pay them a certain amount of money. And I think if he does leave, there will be a problem. Having said that, there are good managers out there.
Who would be your
Well, the obvious one people say at the moment is Michael Laudrup, but I know it's very easy to go the flavour of the month. But you can't be guaranteed success with anyone who comes in. But there are very good, young, progressive managers out there. Joachim Low, the German manager. And then there's some bigger boys like Ancelotti. But there are good managers who should be given a go. That's not to say they're going to guarantee you success. No one can do that. But that's not a reason to not give them a chance.
Sorry, Gavin, go on.
Yeah. Sorry to butt in there, but I mean you are correct. I mean when Arsene Wenger came to us, it was pretty much an unknown. Unless you was a complete fan of French football, which not a lot of people were back then, or you had good knowledge of the Japanese league, you wouldn't have heard of Arsene Wenger. When he took over, everybody was like, "Well, Arsene who?" And the way he came into the club, and he actually revolutionized. He changed English football. He absolutely changed football with his diet. He got another 3 or 4 years out of Adams and Keown and Dixon and Winterburn and Seaman. He changed their diet. He changed the way they trained. And, he absolutely changed English football. The problem is everybody caught up. And now not only has everybody caught up, everybody's caught up and they've moved on. And Wenger still stood still. And he's still trying to pull these gems out of the French league, where French football's had its heyday. We should have been plumbing for the Spanish lads 4 or 5 years ago. We got Arteta 5 years too late, for instance.
We're pushed for time.
Everything's moved on, and it's left Wenger behind. It needs a younger man with fresher ideas, someone who at 69, 70th minute, is actually going to bring a player on that's actually going to change the game for the better.
Thanks very much, Gavin. Listen, wish you all the very best in here, but thanks very much for joining us, and we'll talk to us again soon. Sorry, a bit running out of time there, but all the very best for the rest of the season, mate. Thanks for your time.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
No problem.
Care,
no
mate.
problem.
Desperately
Well, money will trigger the change, and
Yeah.
that's the only thing they hear. And let's compare this side to obviously to the invincible side of what was it 04 there. Let's have a look at the teams. We've got a caption of both the sort of sides here. The difference in the players and personnel is just incredible, isn't it? Look at them. I mean, the defence is the defence for me.
Yeah, I mean it's depressing. It's depressing reading actually, and I think what we saw here was the evidence of what has. They are very much pretenders. To be fair, what was a fantastic once-in-a-lifetime team. I don't think it's fair to compare every Arsenal player to the likes of Pires and Bergkamp and Henry. I think that's a very difficult comparison to make, but they're nowhere near. They're leagues apart.
Just quickly, we've got a very, very, very big goal at the Hawthorns, and it's gone to Queen's Park Rangers. They are 1-0.
Big Wenger critic, as you might tell. However, I always back him to finish in the top 4 with Arsenal. He seems to know how to do it, and I certainly wouldn't write him off at this stage doing it. Having said that, in terms of what's best for the long-term future of Arsenal Football Club, there's many fans like me in a way who are kind of almost I say this with quite a guilty feeling, but kind of secretly hoping we kind of miss out on that fourth place, because that is really going to be the only thing that triggers change at the club, which I think has been Arsene Wenger's kind of project after the Invincible side. Was he, consciously went on a rebuilding project. He went a certain way, a certain strategy, which he was perfectly entitled to do, and he built up enough credibility to do that. But I think it's, as you can see from the two teams, it's failed miserably, and I think there isn't a player in Sunday's team at Man City, Jack Wilshere aside, who definitely has the talent to belong in that Arsenal Invincible squad. Otherwise,
but Arsenal's this club that's closest to your heart. You're obviously an Arsenal man through and through and through. Mr. Wenger, what's the opinion? And also, could he lead a side for the first time ever in Arsenal outside the top 5?
Quite possibly, and I think he's been getting away with it over the last few years, and he's been rescued a couple of times on the last day of the season. You had dodgy lasagna. You had the West Brom goalie as well, kind of chucking a few in that kind of did Spurs, I think it was last season. I think this could be the first season. I'm a